Hello friends, welcome back to Cosmopolitan Cornbread. So I am in an unusual location for one of my videos today, but I wanted to talk to you about pantries and the importance of a pantry and the number one most important thing you need to stock up on when it comes to preparing for hard times and everything else. So I recently had a really good conversation with a friend of mine about the importance of a pantry, how vital it really is for your family's security to have a pantry. So I just want to talk very briefly about why I think it is important to have a good stocked pantry and some of the things that are important for a pantry. You know, once upon a time, keeping a stocked pantry was a normal way of life. Everyone prepared all summer and throughout the harvest season, preserving foods, preserving their harvest to get them through the following winter. And so you would have a cellar, root cellar, basement, pantry. You would have some sort of place where you would put up food, because we didn't have grocery stores that we could go to at the drop of a hat to get pretty much anything we wanted to. Now, a couple of years ago, the world events that took place really had people take pause and think about the importance of having a pantry, of having food put aside, because they realized, gee, our grocery system isn't necessarily that reliable. It's actually quite fragile, and it wouldn't take much at all to interfere with the supply chain and your ability to get groceries for your family. You might have the money, but there might not be anything on the shelves. I know when I went to the grocery store during that period of time, not only did I see empty shelves all over the place, I saw tons of news articles and other people sharing on social media the empty shelves, empty coolers, empty freezers. There were real shortages for groceries, and we could go into all the different reasons behind that and what caused it. But the fact of the matter is, if you have a stocked pantry, if you have a stocked freezer, then you have food security for your family, and it is very important. Now, a lot of people did panic buy things. They bought up all the toilet paper and all the meat and all the things, which only made the strain on the supply system even worse. But because I keep a stocked pantry and because I keep food put up, we didn't really have to worry. And whatever the reason there might be for some sort of shortage or hardship, whether it's a global event, or it is a natural disaster, or a job, layoff, or something like that. You could have a family member with a medical emergency, or a death in the family, or any number of things that are completely unexpected that can completely interfere with your ability to get groceries. There's just any number of reasons out there that could cause that. It's very good to have a pantry for your family to be able to fall back on. Now, one of the things that I do think is important is to don't panic buy all the things. Just look at the things that your family eats ordinarily. What does your family already eat? Do you like to bake things with pumpkin? Have some extra pumpkin on hand. Tomato sauce, or or do you have a favorite steak sauce that you like to use often on a variety of different things? Look at the things that your family consumes, hopefully healthy things, and what do you use on a regular basis? Those are the things that you should be stocking up on, because you don't want to panic buy a bunch of things that your family's not going to consume, because number one, that's a waste of space, it's a waste of money, and then if you don't consume it and it just sits in your pantry for years, what good is that? I suppose if you were starving to death and there was nothing else, you would probably eat it, but that's definitely not going to add to the mental well-being of your family. And, it might keep you fed for a little while, but you're going to be pretty miserable. I do believe that whatever you stock in your pantry, it should be the things that your family enjoys, the things that keeps your family healthy, and the things that will keep your life as normal as possible when life isn't normal. Of course, there are the absolute staples that I think all pantries should have. A good stock of salt. Salt is life. Without salt, there are so many things that you would not be able to do in an emergency situation. Salt is a vital thing to have stocked up in your pantry. You can use it not only for seasoning your food, but it's also a preservative, a natural way to preserve foods for longevity. So, you have the things like salt, you have honey or sugar or flour and things like that. Now, ground flour does not last a terribly long time. It does go rancid after a while, but if you have some stored away in some vacuum sealed buckets or something like that, that's going to last longer. If you can stock up on the whole grains, the unground wheat and things like that, vacuum sealed buckets of those will last for years and years, and you can just get them out and mill them into flour as you need it, and then it'll last a lot longer. So you do want to be mindful about the things that you store. Make sure not only are you storing things that your family is actually going to consume, but you want to make sure that it's going to last in your pantry if you don't use it right away. You do want to have a rotation. If you buy some pumpkin and say you see it on sale, make sure you put the new cans to the back so that you're using the older ones first. And so you've got to continue rotation of all of the things in your pantry. And we can talk about these sorts of things more later on. But before I go any further, I do want to share the one thing that I think is the most important to remember when it comes to stocking up. And this one might be a little unorthodox, you might say. In Proverbs chapter 30, in verse 24, it says, "4 things on the earth are small, nevertheless they are very wise. The ants, a species not strong, yet they store up their food in the summer. The conies, a species with little power, yet they make their home in the rocks." Those are the first 2 things of the 4 that are mentioned. The ants preparing when times are good for later when times won't be. They prepare in the summer while things are bountiful and plentiful to get them through the winter when things are scarce and hard. And the conies, a species with little power, yet they make their home in the rocks. Make sure that your home, your foundation is on rock, the rock, not shifting sands that are unstable in all their ways. Make sure that you are building the foundation of your life on the eternal rock, God our Father. And that brings me to the thing that is most important to stock up on, and that is our trust in the Lord. Because I might have all the things in the pantry, but I also know that this could be wiped out, that it could all be gone in the blink of an eye. I know that there could be an earthquake or a tornado, or someone could break in and take it all. So we cannot put our trust, our faith in the things that we have, not even in our pantry, even though it is important. This isn't where our trust and our faith should lie. On the contrary, Matthew chapter 6, verse 19. "Do not store up for yourselves wealth here on earth, where moths and rust destroy and burglars break in and steal. Instead, store up for yourselves wealth in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroys and burglars do not break in or steal. For where your wealth is, there your heart will be also. The eye is the lamp of the body. So if you have a good eye, that is, you are generous, your whole body will be full of light. But if you have an evil eye, if you are stingy, your whole body will be full of darkness. If then the light in you is darkness, how great is that darkness? No one can be a slave to two masters, for he will either hate the first and love the second, or scorn the second and be loyal to the first. You can't be a slave to both God and money. Therefore I tell you, don't worry about your life, what you will eat or drink, or about your body, what you will wear. Isn't life more than food, and the body more than clothing? Look at the birds flying about. They neither plant nor harvest, nor do they gather food into barns, yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Aren't you worth more than they are? Can any of you, by worrying, add a single hour to his life? And why be anxious about clothing? Think about the fields of wild irises and how they grow. They neither work nor spin thread, yet I tell you that not even Shlomo in all his glory was clothed as beautifully as one of these. If this is how God clothes the grass in the field, which is here today and gone tomorrow, thrown in an oven, won't he much more clothe you? What little trust you have. So don't be anxious, asking, what will we eat? What will we drink? Or how will we be clothed? For it is the pagans who set their hearts on all these things. Your heavenly Father knows you need them all. But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. Don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow will worry about itself. Today has enough troubles already. There is nothing wrong with stocking up a pantry, having food put up for a rainy day. It is a wise thing to do. And there are countless stories in the Bible where people were told to prepare for hard times. But those hard times came and the Lord still saw them through. Of course, it is a wise thing to be prudent and prepare for potential hard times, to just do what you can to look out for your family. However, we can never forget that our trust and our faith should not be in the things that we have, and we shouldn't hang on to these things with a closed fist, like they're mine, they're all mine, and you take care of your own because this is for my family. We have to have an open heart and compassion towards others. I will tell you, back during the global catastrophe that took place a couple years ago, because I keep a full pantry and because I keep things on hand, I was able to help other people who weren't able to get the things that they needed. I had someone who was trying to find yeast and didn't have any, and I was able to give her some. I had another person who had a family member who was disabled and they cared for full time, and they weren't able to go store after store after store to try and find toilet paper because everybody had bought it up. Well, I usually keep a few weeks or months on hand at all times. And I was able to share some of my supply with her because they couldn't get it. And so you have to understand that whatever you have, hold it with an open hand and be prepared to be generous if you need to be. Because I firmly believe that the Lord will bless you in doing that. And a great example is in 1 Kings chapter 17. It's a story of Elijah, the prophet. He was traveling through the valley Kerit, and the Lord told him, I have ordered the ravens to feed you. So the ravens brought him bread, and they brought him meat, and he drank from the stream. And so he was taken care of. And then later on in that same chapter, he went into a village, and there was a widow there, and the widow was to take care of him. And when he went and spoke to the widow and asked her, to feed him and give him some food and water, she's like, all I have left is a little bit of meal in the flower pot, and I'm going to make this for my son and I, and then we're going to die because there's nothing left. And he convinced her, he told her in faith, you go ahead and you make me that bread to eat, and you're going to be blessed. And she was, because the oil in the flour didn't run out. And it sustained them. It sustained her It sustained the prophet Elijah and her son throughout that famine, and they survived because they trusted in the Lord and they were obedient and they were generous. So, the number one most important thing to keep in mind and stock up on when it comes to preparing for hard times or not so hard times is our trust and our faith. So I hope that gives you a little bit of something to think about. Just remember, when you are working on stocking up a pantry, do it out of love for your friends and family. Don't do it out of fear. Make sure that this brings you joy. And in the end, I think it'll bring blessings as well. So that is it for today. Thanks for joining me here in the Homestead Pantry. My name is Constance from Cosmopolitan Cornbread, and I'll talk to you all next time.